This is a webinar to talk about Pelotero and Hitting Approach. So we've got some pretty fun stuff in the works, has been in the works for a while, and we're excited to share what we're doing. So just to start, what is Pelotero? What do we do? What are we about? So as what it says right here is we build custom programs fast. So first and foremost, we are a player development company. That's at the root of everything we do is player development. So everything we do, everything we're focused on is about making players better. We work with players directly through remote programs. We work with facilities. So if you have a facility and you're running lessons and doing classes and memberships and all that, we can help you. And then for teams, which is really the focus of this call, is helping teams win more games through player development. We build custom programs. We offer assessments. I'm going to show you the 3D motion capture we do in partnership with 3Motion AI. We also have an event module for tryouts and clinics. So the big concept here is that we bring in data and build training plans fast. That's the big picture. We've worked with so much technology over the years. Technology historically has made coaching harder. Tech should make our lives easier. What ends up happening is it makes our lives harder, and that's unfortunate. It should be easier. When I think about the iPhone, like we're never going to plug our phones back into the wall. We're never going to go back to plugged in internet or dial-up internet. We need to move forward with this. And the biggest thing that tech does is it creates a new burden of time to process the data, to make it work for you. I know John was telling me stories about spending 8 hours after a weekend series trying to process everything that's going on. That's terrible. It's just, it doesn't work. It has to be faster. So right now we work with hit tracks, Diamond Kinetics, Blast Motion. We're going to show you the ProPlay AI stuff that we do. But the big concept is we want to bring in this data. When we bring in data, we translate it immediately. We don't stick it in a database so that we can look at it later. When we bring data in, we translate it. We make it useful. So an example of that would be, John, if I said a player has their Diamond Kinetics attack angle is 25, does that mean anything to you?
It means something to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So if their attack angle is 25, they're swinging straight up.
Right.
We know that. We try to automate that decision-making process. So we're not trying to invent anything. We're trying to take knowledge that we already have and make it happen faster. So if you swing straight up, we're going to tell you to get on top of the ball. We're probably going to ask you to use a heavy bat and loaded bat to think about getting on top. Just like if you swing down at -10, you're swinging straight down. We're going to ask you to swing up. So we're trying to make just logical decisions about what's happening. So we use technology to do that. So I'm going to jump into some of the stuff that we're doing. So our partnership with 3Motion AI is awesome. On the bottom left, we can see a swing that was just an iPhone video. And each swing that we get has 140,000 data points. Nobody wants to look at 140,000 data points. I'm going to show you in a second what that looks like. It's too much. If you've used KVest or if you've used 4D, if you've used mocap systems, they're cool. They're awesome. They create really good data, and then it takes forever to use them. So we're trying to just eliminate the time that it takes. On the right, we see a range of motion tool. This is, again, just a video. I sat on a bench, I moved my legs around, I'm getting hip range of motion data, which is pretty incredible. So I'm going to jump into demo right now. I'm going to bring down my screen and show you what it means when we say we build programs fast. So first thing we're going to do, this is our Pelotero web app. Everything we do is a web application right now. So we're going to jump into Hit AI. I'm going to pick Hitter. I know this video is already prepped. So this is a video that's already been uploaded. The video process is going to get very fast, very quickly. So just be aware of that. So when we bring in a video, it creates the lines, it does all this stuff. And then on the back end, we're creating a bunch of values on the bottom that automatically get calculated. The raw data looks like this. This is terrible. No, I'm not saying it's terrible. It's awesome. It's just to look through this type of data. I mean, it's 1,000 rows with many columns. We can't look at this much data if we're dealing with any sort of volume of hitter. It's not feasible. So for us, what we do is we click this button and we say, do a video analysis. So right now, I'm doing a video analysis that used to take me 15, 20 minutes. I always take a dramatic sip of coffee. because I just did a video analysis without doing anything. Anything that I ever looked at on video is now happening by clicking a button. To me, that's a very big deal. So now that we've got that video processed, I can come over to generate a program. This is a new workflow that's coming out. Should be released in the next day or two. Basic concept here is I can take that player. I can now build a season for this player. So I'm going to do high school season. John, I don't even know if you've seen this. Texas season starts around February 15th, goes to March or May. I'll go May 15th, 2023. So what I just did is I set the season, and by clicking a button, I just created that player's entire off-season training plan and in-season training plan. So we can see all the dates. So there's a question of like, what should I do? When should I do it? So just by entering the dates, I've created their full training protocol. Now for off-season 4, I just say get a program. I say I want a baseball, softball program. I want a hitting program. And then it's going to present the program templates that are part of that phase. So if I want a 2-day flips and BP, I'm going to pick this one. And this is real time. I'm not, this is how fast it takes to build a program. So we're using that video. We're creating a program. And this is how fast it is. So again, I could take another sip of coffee, but of course I picked one that didn't work. Let me do that again. I actually picked, let me do this one. I just built one for this. Do a quick ad. Baseball, softball, hitting. And I'll do this one. I'm on our staging environment, so there's things in here that don't work, and I just picked the wrong one. So again, we're building a program by clicking a button. It's taking a template, which I'm going to show you in a second. And now we've got a full custom 4-week program for this player. If we don't know how to do a drill, we hop in. We've got all the videos linked. All the instructions are linked. Everything's available. If they don't know how to do it, it's delivered to the athlete. You don't have to build a PDF and email it. You don't have to manually pick the programs with VLOOKUPs, John, or non-VLOOKUPs. We're taking that data. We're building programs fast.
So quick story. Bobby had a look at our Google Drive programming that we've been doing for a few years, and it was basically taking batted ball data from Rapsodo. We had Diamond Kinetic sensors. We had K-Vest. We had hitting approach data, and we were building programs. And it was taking me 5 or 6 hours per player based on that information just to pour through all the data and build the program. And then he taught me how to do VLOOKUPs, which maybe saved me 45 minutes to an hour, but it was still a 4-hour process. So this really excites me. Just wearing a lot of hats as a college coach. The faster I can get this information to the kids, the better.
I didn't realize I had the link already. I was waiting for somebody to send me the link, and I didn't even. No, I absolutely do not have to roll. I'm just going to sit here and.
Chris, you're talking to the whole group. We're going to mute you real quick there. You were on the email, bud. So before we get into the hitting approach stuff, I'm going to talk about how our templates work, because it's different than kind of what the industry norm is. So these are all the templates that we have in our model so far. Somebody's not muted. I'm going to mute. I'm just going to go on a mute spree here. There we go. So these are all the templates that we have in our database. So we have many, many, many templates. These are all based on phases, based on different, if they're hitting, strength and conditioning, we can do different, all the phases that we had in the seasons that I just showed, all the plans are based on that. So I always use this as my example. So this is a 4-day program. We're going to look at a squat, because the way that we build our templates, and this is why we can do it so fast, is essentially what we're doing is we're building a search query where the coach is defining the type of exercise they want, and then the athlete's data is choosing the data or choosing the exercise or drill based on their data. So assessment data gets pulled in, coach defines a type of exercise that gets matched up, and we're choosing the most appropriate exercise. You can just manually select. So if I just wanted a back squat, I could just say, give me a back squat, and you can do that. It's just not individualized at that point. You're just giving the drill. In a hitting world, it makes sense if you want to do like high speed machine work or curveball stuff, you can do that. So this is a view that you're not going to really see on the front end. We'll have some customization tools down the road, but for now we're going to have all stock stuff. But basically, this coach wants a bilateral squat. Standard is kind of a catch-all term. We're not going to do accommodating resistance. So I can test this, and I've got 62 different squats that become available. If I wanted to, I could say, you know what? I only want a barbell. I'm going to use a barbell. I can retest this, and now I've only got 13 exercises to choose from. So of these 13, the athlete would be choosing, or the athlete's data would be choosing the correct exercise. I can get rid of a couple things. I'm going to go just straight up. I want a squat. I'm going to retest this. Now we have 243 squat variations in our database. So one question that we ask people all the time is, if you have access to every exercise, every drill, every piece of equipment, how would you go about choosing what the athlete should do? We believe that athletes' data should be picking what they should be doing. We should be translating and using technology to make this process faster. So that's kind of just a rundown on what Pelotero does and why we do it. I'm going to give John the floor right now and let him talk and share what Hitting Approach does and why they do it, why they do what they do. So John, co-founder, I think Josh is in the chat too, but John is head coach at Millersville University, D2 school in Pennsylvania, and he was sick of doing paper charts. So tell us about yourself and kind of what's going on here.
Yeah, Hitting Approach is basically we wanted game data, and we wanted to get game data to provide a way for us to build scouting reports, to game plan for our hitters, and to basically communicate through game data what we kind of knew as coaches, what we could see as coaches, but had no data to provide. So Bobby alluded to this, but a couple of years ago, probably about 4 years ago now, I was sitting in my living room every Sunday night for 6 to 8 hours, just crunching numbers from paper charts and plug them into Excel spreadsheets. And my wife looked at me and she's like, "You really need an app for that." And the simple things we were tracking were just pitch type, pitch location, and result. And we're using different colored pens for different pitches. And at the end of the day, we just weren't getting the information that we knew we were capable of harvesting from that data. So I actually did have a website developer, or a software developer that lived down the street from me when I was a kid. I contacted him and we started messing around with the idea of building an app. So we bootstrapped pretty much the whole thing, and we used it in 2020, and it worked pretty well. But dealing with COVID, we got shut down about 20 games into the season. So we continued to develop it. And in 2021, we released it to the App Store. Some of you guys I know from names were using it last year. And Bobby and I have been talking about some new data points that we wanted to add for about a year now. But the bottom line is we want to provide a way for coaches that can't afford radar technology, that sometimes doesn't even provide the right data that your hitters need. We wanted to provide a way to do that just through tracking pitches, and hopefully you can get rid of some clipboards as a result, and have access to game data that you've never had before. So that's the rundown, Bobby. But I'm excited for you guys to see it. Some of you guys have used it for some time now, but again, we've got some new data coming at you with timing and vertical accuracy that isn't found anywhere else. So,
yep. So I'm going to do a little demo of the app, and we're going to demo the cloud. So basic concept here is we have an app. You can score a new game. You can do inter squads. You can do bullpens. You can also score opposing teams, which is a big deal if you're going to do scouting. There's a lot of streaming available these days, so it's good to you can do a lot of game tracking. So we're just going to hop in and showcase some data that doesn't get collected elsewhere that we just feel very strongly about. And to John's echo what John was saying, you know, there's data that I've felt is missing from the game tracking experience for a long time. You know, everybody's talking about spin rates and induced vertical break and seam shifted wake and all this stuff. And what I care the most about is what actually happens. So I would put this information above the ball tracking devices because it's actually measuring what happens, and there's data that's being collected. It's nice that with ball tracking systems that's automated, but we can capture all the same data. So first thing, we're looking at a catcher view. If you were watching a home plate view, you can just spin it around. There's a simple menu. You just rotate the view. Basic concept here is we need to know where the pitch is, what the pitch is, and then collect some other data. So very simple. I'm just tapping the screen. We're going to get a menu that says what type of pitch it is. So if you're a game changer user, they don't ask you what pitch it was or where the pitch was. So this is pretty important data. So we can go fastball. If you have a way to get velocity, you can just add the velocity. We're not going to do that right now. This is where things start to get a little bit different. So I've posted this on Twitter recently. Over 50% of swings don't produce a ball in play. Over 50% of balls don't produce a ball in play. So if you are using a tracking system, every pitch that's thrown has data on it: velocity, spin, location, whatever. For hitting, 50% of over 50% of balls of swings don't put the ball in play. So swings and misses and foul balls, there's no data being collected. In addition,
so Bobby, that's at every level, right? That's at the major league level. That's at Power 5. That's all the way down. That
was Major League for 2022 was over 50% of balls are not, over 50% of swings are not producing balls in play. Of the 50% balls in play, 40% across all of Major League Baseball last year, 40% of balls in play are with 2 strikes. So what about the 0-0 foul tip fastball that should have been put in play? Kids are making outs on the 2-strike pitch, and we're producing all our fly ball rates and ground ball rates and line drive rates off of balls in play. And we're literally missing half of the data. And of the data that we are getting, 40% of it is with 2 strikes when guys are in defense mode. So pretty crazy. So what we're going to look at here is I'm going to click on foul ball. Every other system in the world right now doesn't ask what type of foul ball it is. And this is like, I've been talking about this at the conventions. So this is it's scary for me to start talking about it because I've been sitting on this for years. But all of these words have a number value associated with them. Ground ball is +1. You missed over the ball. Fly ball is -1. You missed under the ball. Squared up is 0. Foul tip over is going to be a positive 2.25. Foul tip under is -2.25. We're creating values on every single swing that allow us to create a metric for accuracy. In my opinion, this is a really, really big deal. We want to program off of game data as much as possible. So if we don't have accuracy information, how are we helping the players? Next, I'm going to do a ground ball here. The next question, what was the hitter's timing? Again, this is critical information. If I know a hitter's making outs on fastballs, but I don't know where in the zone, I don't know how they're missing, and I don't know what their timing is, how can I program for that hitter and how can I help them? It's wild. So same thing, I'm going to do a 4-seam fastball, swing and miss, missed way under, very late. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. We'll do a fastball, ball in play, same thing. All of these words have a value. So ground ball, +1, fly ball, -1. If we go through, we get all of our normal stuff. So I can hit a hard hit ball. I was safe. I'll hit a double right here. Reach second base. The runner got to third. So we're doing all sorts of normal game tracking stuff. But the big concept here is we're able to create metrics around timing and accuracy. All right, so let's dig into this further. Where's my window with hitting approach in it? Got too many tabs open. It's all right, I'll do a new one. So if we come to hitting approach, can everybody see my screen? Making sure, yeah. So this is data from Millersville, and this is where it starts to get really fun. And in the context of Pelotero, we mentioned we work with the hit tracks, the bat sensor companies, ProPlay AI for the video swing mechanics. All of this data is being brought into Pelotero so we can create programs. My dream scenario is you're going to record your games, then come to Pelotero and basically click a button. And for your practices and your games, you're going to have custom plans for each player based on their results, which I think is a big deal. So we're going to highlight a couple things that we can do. So at ABCA, we kept talking about Brent Taylor, who hit 434 and raked and has amazing command of the strike zone. No offense to the player we're going to pick. We're just going to pick somebody with a lower batting average. We're going to do Jimmy Kirk. He's hitting 246 and 126 at bats. So because we're asking what type of pitch it is, because we're asking the location, we can do a lot of things here. So first thing we can see, this is where his hits are. So we have a nice scatter plot of where their hits are. Jimmy's got no hits on the top of the strike zone. So that's just something to be aware of. No hits on the top of the zone. If we want to, we can quickly, a little bigger, we can look at pitch types and filter it. We could do 2-strike curveballs if we wanted to, and just quickly filter that. So that's pretty cool. Please let my go Joey in. Chris, was that recent? Or
Yeah, he's in. He was the one making noise.
Got it. So we've got a nice scatter plot here of all the pitches, which from a communication standpoint is awesome. Then we can get into things like whiff percentages. And this is where things get pretty awesome from a player development standpoint. So we can see he's got a 50% swing rate, which is pretty high. I think Juan Soto's around like 20. His swing and miss rate's about 30%, which is a lot. When he swings in the zone, he's got a 78% swing rate, and he misses 20% of the time. He has a swing out of the strike zone rate of around 19%, and he misses 76% of the time out of the zone. So now we can see a chart with all of his swings and misses. So we can see he definitely trends to miss down in the zone, swing and miss down in the zone. Again, we can filter this, rip through it. John's got some stories about different players that we'll get into, but this is just a really powerful tool. And they have an app. Hitting Approach has an app that does the game tracking, but the analytics and the way they can display the data is very powerful. I like the hard hit ball chart as well. So we've got a nice little, nice scatter plot. We can see where he hits all of his hard hit balls. Just gives him an idea. This player just might need to look down in the zone. It might be that simple. Just don't swing up in the zone. If you're facing the guy that rides it and misses under barrel or misses over barrels, maybe you need a more balanced bat. There's options that we have here. So some pretty cool stuff.
Or write out a different lineup.
Or you write a different lineup.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I mean, there's countless times where we've had a conversation with a player that they think is, Jimmy, for example. Hey, Jimmy, you need to look down in the zone. Nah, coach, that's just that's an isolated event. I chased up and I wasn't seeing it well today. No, Jimmy, actually, you haven't hit a ball hard up in the zone all season long. You need to look down in the zone. And it's just changed the way that guys approach the game. We had another kid that literally started looking down in the zone. It was a very similar situation to Kirk, and he didn't chase up a single time last season, which is brilliant. And it was just a simple change in understanding what he was capable of doing. Sometimes we try to fix things as coaches, knowing that, hey, maybe Jimmy doesn't swing up in the zone or hit balls hard up in the zone. Well, it could be as simple as just stop swinging up in the zone and just creating awareness around it. Sometimes it's not even a programming thing. So it's created a newfound, just created a completely different look for our hitters. Just created clarity around what they're capable of doing and not capable of doing, and it's been an awesome tool from that aspect.
Yep. So what we're going to look at next is the game reports or game summaries. So this is you get a pretty standard kind of box score coming out of a game. So you can see something that's important to point out is everything that we're showing on the hitting side, the pitchers are also getting the same data. So if you're a pitching guy, you want your pitchers to understand where they're getting hit and where they're getting outs, you can do that as well. This is a game from April 23rd last year. We can see Thomas Caulfield had 4 at-bats. He saw 13 pitches, 10 of which were swings. He only put 1 ball in play. So we can go into his post-game report, and this is something that's emailed to the players right after the game is over. And they've got a nice chart to see where their pitches are. They can see what happened. They can see, what pitch it was, what was the zone, did they swing, get a spray chart. And they can also leave notes for themselves. This player didn't for this game, but players can leave notes for themselves about what they were thinking, what they were feeling for certain at bats. And John's got some good stories about players that have gone back to when they were feeling good to remind themselves and refresh their mindset to maybe they need to look down or maybe they need to look up, whatever that is. They can mark down if they made good decisions or not. And sometimes you just don't get a pitch to hit in a bat, and it's important to see that. Like this one, you should probably hit pretty hard because it's pretty middle fastball. This at bat, you got a couple pitches to hit, but there's going to be times where you're not getting anything to hit, and kids are panicking and they're trying to make swing changes because they make outs instead of trusting that their swing is fine, their approach is fine. They just didn't get some of the hit. And Chris and I talk about this all the time. There is so much swing doubt in the game right now. These kids are freaking out, thinking their swing has to be perfect to have success. That's crazy. Chris, you want to go?
So I apologize for being late to the call. I was on a call with the Major League Hitting coach.
Sorry about it.
We're that's a name drop. I didn't drop the name, but we're just talking about the webinar and all the things that matter in the game. And the things that we both pointed out are just objections and things that come with this. Like number one, a lot of players that are getting to the major leagues have swing doubt right now. And they're not learning how to hit. And the major part of the conversation that we got into was, when did the focus shift to the number that is exit velocity or it's a hard? And it was abundantly clear to me that it became about technology and the access to it, and the fact that players could train in an environment where they could track the number, and the number doesn't matter. The number literally has no bearing on development. It's just a measuring stick. And the reality of it is the classifier and the beautiful thing about what happens in hitting approach that I love is it's a rocket. It's hit hard, it's hit medium, it's hit soft, or it's hit poorly. I think what's the one? It's weak. Average, below average.
Weak and soft.
Soft and weak.
Soft, sorry. So the funny part is that's what matters, because we need to understand, do I have the ability to hit the ball hard? Do I check the box? The number itself is irrelevant. And the way training is shifted in baseball is now there's this like chase for this number. And what said hitting coach pointed out was Bobby and I had talked about, and Bobby did a great job of analyzing this a while back. We're trying to raise the ceiling on players, but the floor is getting lower. And now we have an opportunity through data and tech now with hitting approach with Pelotero to like start having conversations that matter. And that's what needs to happen in the tech space for all the people that, the old school guys that are saying, oh, baseball is not the same. Well, we need to blend these two worlds, because players communicate better with devices, I think, now than they do with humans. And I just really believe in what's happening here, and I'm excited to share it with the world. So
some of a couple of theories that we have, we wanted feedback right away. And with a lot of systems, you don't get feedback right away. You'd have to mine the data. You'd have to wait for the data to come in. There's no interactive conversation with the player. So when Chris talks about that, it was really important for us to design a system that we were getting and logging the player's thoughts and feels. And the post-game report's customizable. So if you want to ask a player something, you can ask them anything you want. You could put a 1 to 10 scale on there. And it, going back to what Bobby was saying earlier, we've had some great conversations with players that have been in slumps. And we get kids in college, it may be the first slump they've ever had in their life. So they really have no idea, what they're going through and how to get out of it. And sometimes just going back to what their plan was, what their thoughts, what their feels were, how they were seeing the ball in a certain way is enough just to get them out of a slump. And it's proven to our hitters that it's not always their swing, and it erases that swing doubt that Chris is talking about. So perfect example, one guy had 2 homers last year in the postseason in a game, and I think he was like 0 for 40 going into that situation. We went back to his post-game report from the year before where he went off on a weekend, and his plan was simply to be early. And that was it. I mean, just slowing down his load and being early with his load was enough to get him back. And, I couldn't find anything different from a tempo aspect on a swing, but on video, but it was in his mind and it worked. So that's all that matters. We need to start listening to our hitters more often, and they need to start listening to themselves and tracking that. And you're going to see trends just in the difference in their psyche. And it's huge.
That's my favorite part about this, is the fact that we can get the player involved. And so much of my relationship with hitters now, I love talking to hitters. I love exploring the mental and psychological aspects of it. I think we swung so far to the mechanics and data numbers side that we forgot what the core principles of hitting were. And clearly, we, like I said before, we have to marry that with technology. And that's the perfect application here. One other thing I wanted to add, and it's funny because on the conversation I was just on, we were talking about like people wanting to have these big machines that track all this stuff that cost, thousands and thousands of dollars, both on field and off. And they're great. Like, don't get me wrong. But the funny part is something that I hear a lot is, oh, well, somebody's got to do the game. Right. And I'm like, well, somebody has to do the game on those things too. Like, the lineup doesn't change by itself. It doesn't know when an out was recorded or not. It just puts a number on stuff. And I'll tell you what, for me personally, like, especially if I was a smaller budget program, like I'd be looking for a solution that's easy to use and readily accessible on my cell phone, as opposed to, a huge device that I have to mount in my stadium that probably isn't going to work most of the time.
Does it travel with you to your away games? All right, let me, there's a couple more things I want to highlight here with the app. First one is scouting report. John, what team should I do here? Remind me again.
How about East Stroudsburg?
All right. So this is a new feature. I think they were signed up. So this is amazing. This is just an example. I'm going to click this button. I'll kind of talk through it. But the concept of, like, some people are still doing paper charts, and it's wild to me. We're building a scouting report for every single hitter in this lineup right now by clicking a button. It's wild. The amount of time it would take to do this would be crazy. So
we were doing this last
quickly,
year.
Like, look at this.
We screenshot everything last year, and it took us about 6 or 7 hours to build it out, going through each report and pulling the screenshot. So we're pretty excited about this. There's actually a number of other data points that are going to be added by the 1st of February here in the next couple of weeks in preparing for the college season. But this is exciting. This is something that literally saves me a massive amount of time and allows me to be in the cage more. And also, really, your game prep is going to start more, but it would take me by the end of the week to actually get a report done. I would be up all night during the postseason when you're playing one team on a Friday, and then Saturday you're playing in the winners bracket, and then you lose on Saturday, and you're playing in the losers bracket on Saturday night. All I was doing was game prepping, and now I can actually spend some more time with the players instead of on a computer. So it's really exciting.
Hey guys, this is Josh, John's partner on Hitting Approach. I just wanted to point out, see where it says select stats there. We're going to build that out to put, 50 different things in there where you can basically see all the stats that you want to see. Because maybe you don't want to see the whiff chart. Maybe you don't want to see the OO count chart. You want to see a different chart. So this was just released about a month ago. So we're going to be expanding this and just making it awesome this spring.
Yeah.
But right now we get this.
It blows me away that you can click a button and just generate all this. Pretty wild. And the last thing that I want to show from like a data standpoint is just some custom reporting that I did. So there's a CSV download. You can just rip through it and have some fun. These are some stats from the playoffs that I got, and just some pretty interesting numbers. So I went through and I got all the pitchers. This is just Padres and Phillies pitchers. And when you look at off-speed accuracy, so we talked about how we're getting the value, a metric for accuracy. Justin Verlander was the only pitcher in that series, in that series, where he had a negative value on his off-speed pitches. So his off-speed pitches, every pitcher in the big leagues in the playoffs, except for Verlander, was missing under barrels with their off-speed pitch. It's pretty funny when you think about it, but he's the only one that wasn't. And that's, to me, very interesting. And his fastball was a 0.4 value. 0 is a line drive. So he was getting squared up significantly. And then you can get real creative with it. So this Brogdon guy, his variance in accuracy, he was a negative 2.2 for fastball. So that's a miss way under. And then a 175 on his off speed. So, I mean, he's going pretty big break up and down with this vertical. Then you can look at timing as well. So this Bellotta kid, negative 1.5 on his fastball and positive 0.93 on his off speed. So you can start to plan. If you've got too big of a spread there, your pitcher, you can be ready for the fastball, but you're going to have enough time to wait for the breaking ball. So you can start to look at things. Kyle Gibson, sinker ball guy, he misses under the barrel with his fastball and he misses under the barrel with his off speed pitch. So you're basically aiming under every pitch, which is a fun way to think about it, because you're never trying to get over a pitch. You're always trying to miss under as a hitter. And then the other one I like pointing out is Josh Hader. His average miss with his fastball was a swing and miss under. And I was having a conversation at ABCA with Kenny Graham. He's with the Tigers, director of hitting. And I was like, how is it possible that we're in a major league playoff series? You're trying to win the World Series and every single player on average missed under his fastball. It just blows me away. I understand he's got like a -4 approach angle, which is crazy. His ball rides like crazy, but somebody swing and miss over that thing. For BP, if I'm thinking of that guy, I'm going to try to hit foul tips over. I'm going to try to swing and miss over on purpose to try to hit it against him. If I'm facing a pitcher and I know that my value is a -2, my batting practice, I'm going to literally try to hit choppers on purpose just to get my mindset right. I might change the bat. I might flatten my barrel and my load. It gives you the information you need to make adjustments. And we can't promise that you're going to win more games, but we want to put you in position to win more games. And that's it's a big deal.
Can I tell you the thing I'm most excited about? I was talking to a major Division I college softball program today, and I told the head coach, you know what I want to see on a whiteboard in your locker room instead of your exit velocity leaders? I want to see your timing leaders. I want to see your hitters who are most on time. I want your players to be in a battle to see who's the most on time. I don't want to see players who are chasing a metric that is going to make them worse, because, anybody that's probably on this webinar right now or that listens to this knows that the game has trended so much toward optimal outcomes and away from consistency. And it's part of the reason why we're seeing some of the stuff we do in Major League Baseball today. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong or, to each their own about the way they play the game. But I'll tell you what, if we have a lot of players who are on time, we're going to score a lot of runs.
Yeah. So kind of in summary, Pelotero is a player development company. We bring in data. Hitting Approach is our newest partner for bringing in data. And it just happens to be incredible game data, which is great because we care most about game. Game is a test. Everybody's getting good at practice. Ain't nobody getting good at the game. We got to get better at games. So from a pricing standpoint, we're packaging things together. So if you want Pelotero and Hitting Approach, it's $2,000 for the season. If you're a high school program, that you can do your freshman, JV, and varsity. And then if you want the 3Motion, the mocap stuff, which we think is also incredible, $2,500 for the season. So we're really trying to make it easy. Just make it one price. Just turn the thing on and use it. It's the thing that's going to help you the best. The game data is very, very meaningful. It's actionable, and we're going to be able to leverage it quickly, which, we're trying to win more games. That's what this all boils down to. Our job with Pelotero is to help you win more ball games. That's what we want. So I'm going to stop right now. We've got a couple questions coming in. We had a couple questions. I'm going to pin myself. And if I can find Josh in here, I'm going to pin him as well. Josh, you want to get pinned? I don't know where you are. I don't see you. So we have a couple questions. First question was from Mark. Marizaldi, sounds like a current customer has a scouting report capability going to be released. He's trying to pull scouting reports on previous opponents. Do we have an answer for that one?
Yeah, I don't want to take up anybody's time on here, but we've used Hitting Approach last year. It was absolutely phenomenal. It's added so much value to our player evaluation and player development. I just had a couple of questions just for John and Josh. We can work those out outside of this call.
Yeah, so I just sent you a screenshot, Mark. Basically, if you click on hitter scouting and then change the season to 2022 regular season, you'll see all your opposing teams there.
Yep.
And so that should give you a good scouting report. If that doesn't, let me know.
Yeah, that's not working. That's exactly what I did. I tried a
Okay,
couple of different
gotcha.
teams and everything, and I'm clicking show report. It's just not producing anything.
Okay. Yeah. I'll look
Anything
at it
else,
for you.
Mark? Is there anything else that you can share about? Were you guys using the post game reports? What was kind of the favorite feature?
Yeah, so a couple of things, and I shared this with John. I think number one, it closes the learning loop for us. I've been guilty of giving players my personal evaluation after games. You played well, you didn't play well. Your bats were good, your bats were not good. But now we can quantify that. We've become obsessed with swing decisions. I think at the end of the day, like everything starts with what pitches we're choosing to swing at. So it's helped change the perspective for our hitters. They understand that their success really starts with their pitch selection and their timing. And now we can quantify that and walk them through the post-game self-evaluations. Just being able to put some real numbers to their swing decisions has really changed their perspective on hitting. And more than anything else, when we talk to guys about what's your approach, we've never been able to really hammer down on how we evaluate that. And Hitting Approach has allowed us to do that. So it's been beneficial in a lot of different ways for us.
We are Alex Skrilloff had asked if there's any new features coming. We're working on a lot of stuff. I'm going to show this right now. I typically wouldn't share something like this, but I'm going to share it anyway. So we're working on.
Always talk about not sharing stuff, and then you just pull the trigger.
Well, I'm going to do it fast. So we're working on a lot of swing decision stuff. So these are all the formulas. I'm going to just scroll through. These are all the formulas that we're doing for swing decisions. There's other sheets. We have over 200 formulas already for swing decisions, and we want to be able to create a scorecard. So you can see here, there's like report card type stuff. I would love, like at the end of a basketball game, the players get their game sheets and they can see like their plus minus for like points scored, points against. I would love for hitters to be able to see that. And, the post game little huddle, the coach could look at a chart and say, hey, we made really good swing decisions today. We won situations, we lost situations, runners on. How do we do in when it mattered? What was our on time score for the day? That's like, to have a score for being on time would be so cool. Just amazing. You can see here, we're looking at leverage counts, approach buckets, hitting buckets. Like the creativity and the conversation that we're having is one of the most fun things about this. The hitting stuff is hitting stuff. It's kind of like boring at this point, where I think a few years ago, swing was a secret. Like 10 years ago, swing mechanics were a secret. It's not a secret anymore. We know we want to be on plane. We know we want depth. We want adjustability. But now we can actually measure adjustability. We're building metrics for back control, and it's awesome. It's so much fun.
Bobby came to me this past summer and he scored major league games. He's like, Juan Soto's early, but he keeps barreling balls to the opposite field. When you think about that just shows adjustability, right? I mean, that's exactly what, we're talking about barrel timing and we're talking about body timing, and body timing may be way out in front, but barrel timing ends up being a rocket or a hard hit ball. You're going to see data behind that now, which has never been seen before. So, Alec, to answer your question there, I mean, features that'll be added. I'm looking forward to generating scouting reports that we can show guys always late after 2 off-speed pitches, always on time when you throw them back-to-back-to-back fastballs. You can see adjustability with hitters or pitchers. And a foul tip straight back always ends up, after a fastball, always ends up being an off-speed pitch next. I mean, those are certain things that you can game plan with that end up being real and allow your hitters to make adjustments and win games, or your pitchers to make adjustments and win games. So those are things that we're working on right now, building out algorithms to find, you're always on time in this scenario, in this part of the zone, but you're never on time in this scenario, in this part of the zone.
Bobby, can you share your
It's
screen
exciting.
again?
You want me to share again?
Yeah.
What do you want me to share?
So John's been really getting on me about the dashboard, and that's really what John was just talking about. So if you go to stats.hittingapproach.com and so Bobby, get rid of that hitting stats in the URL and put dashboard in there.
Mark was actually just asking about this today.
Top secret. I haven't seen this yet. I'm excited.
So we are working on a dashboard. So right now we're only just showing chase rate. So we're going to show everything like takes in different counts and, swing and miss percentage, chase percentage, hard hit ball percentage, all that good stuff. And then as a coach, you be able to hide and show things that you want to see on this dashboard when you come in. But this is going to, highlight different things like a certain player, hasn't barreled a ball in the middle of the zone yet, or, a certain player, is taking 90% of the time, when he has more than one strike, things like that. So, just taking the data, now that the data is in there and it's being collected, just take it one step further and just answer some basic questions for you that, you don't have to go through all the charts and figure out yourself.
I mean, think about if you knew if you guys were over aggressive or under aggressive on hard fastballs. I mean, that's just, you take too many pitches in the middle of the plate. That's it. That's a data point that will dramatically change a guy's career. Or you chase too many pitches on the edge. I think there's a really good clip of Correa talking about that. How do you create on base percentage and slugging? You take pitches on the edge and you swing at pitches in the middle of the plate. Well, I think every hitter should know that, no matter what level they play at, and that's what we're capable of doing now. So it's really exciting. Hey, I think one of the magic questions we've had to answer as coaches is, how do we tell a player that he's over aggressive or under aggressive? And that answers it. You're over aggressive or under aggressive compared to the rest of the players on your team. You're one of the most passive guys on your team, or you're one of the most aggressive guys on your team. And ideally, we're able to, without looking at other guys' data, we're able to pull data from all Division II or all Division I or all of Major League Baseball and compare and say, hey, you're at the bottom of the barrel from an aggressive aspect. So,
And so
I was just about to talk about that. The percentiles, ability to say what's good, because like, what is a good chase rate? What is a good chase rate on curveballs with 2 strikes?
Yeah.
What's a good, these are data. What's good accuracy? If I'm a scout, I want to know a player's overall accuracy score. What's their swinging? What is their accuracy value when they swing in the zone? I've said this so many times in the last 2 weeks because of the conventions, but if you ask better questions, you get better answers. If there's just massive gaps in the game data right now. If you don't ask, 50% of the swings don't have accuracy data. That's crazy to me.
I think you talk about scouting for the high school or lower college levels, where we have a 20-round draft and there's less players getting picked. It's so much more important for us as college coaches at lower levels to be able to prove, especially from a position player aspect, that our guys are worthy of playing professional baseball. And I think the ability to prove adjustability and the ability to prove bat to ball skills and then filter out bad arms. Like, no scout cares about how our guys hit off of 82 mile an hour fastballs, but when we're facing 94, they want to see who's making good decisions and putting balls in play hard. And we're able to do that now. Talking to a scout the other day, he's like, I want to see, 2 or 3 guys in your lineup against 90 plus. So that's one of the data points that's not listed on the website right now, but it's going to be, Josh told me it's going to be listed in the next couple of days here. So we're building out that filter, but it's going to be awesome to be able to see, hey, yeah, so-and-so hits off of 88 and up, or so-and-so hasn't hit a fastball over 88 all season. that matters from a scouting aspect.
And just to add to everything that's just got said, Bobby and I were having a conversation the other day, and he goes, I hate when guys keyhole me in BP. And there are certain times when, yeah, the next day, if a guy's super aggressive and he's chasing pitches out of the zone, that's the guy we want to keyhole us in BP. And obviously the ability to be able to deliver that to a player and in real time is obviously something we feel like is really important. Just shifting mindsets in players, making them better critical thinkers, making them better problem solvers themselves, because that's what being a great hitter is. It's about understanding how to work through the information that the game's giving you on a day-to-day basis, and really be able to process it and have it apply to you on any given day. I tell people this all the time. Hitters are problem solvers. They're not just really good at 2 + 2 = 4. Hitting is a discipline. It's artistic. There's a creative nature to it. And the more we can give parameters in our training of how to really impact what's happening on the field, the better off we are.
Yeah. Do we have any questions? John, you're muted right now.
Bobby, Alex just asked a really good question.
Let me see. Alex said, what gaps are there in the present day data? How's Pelotero aiming to fill those gaps?
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm very tied in with major league organizations. Obviously, I spent a bunch of time playing, and I've seen multiple teams swing decision trees or charts or whatever. First and foremost, the swing decision data is incredibly incomplete right now because we're not getting the information from the player. The player has to have a plan. Number two, I talked to a player in an organization who told me that if he swung at a 2-strike pitch that was this far off a home plate, according to the box, they got deducted points on their swing decision chart. Those are just 2 small examples of things that I've noticed, and literally, like, not getting information from the player on the hitting side it's just terrible because we don't know what they were thinking, what they were looking for. Were they looking for a breaking ball? Were they looking for a fastball? Were they looking up, down, in, out? And second of all, like, to really ding a guy or ding a player for having the wherewithal to swing at a pitch that was that close and be told that, oh yeah, like, we'd rather you strike out in that situation because it'll help your swing decision. But at the end of the year, when you're hitting 220 and you get released, like, just sorry about it, our bad. Those are my 2 favorite ones.
Yeah, I think the fact that half the swings that are taken have no accuracy data. That I mean, literally half the swings taken don't have data associated with them. If that's not the definition of a gap in the present day data, I don't know what is. It's half the swings.
I got another good one.
And then it's also like the fact that we're not, all of the data needs to be conditional. So you can have an accuracy metric, but if you're not understanding how you're performing against different types of pitchers, I'm not so concerned with lefty righty matchup. I guess you could go approach angles, horizontal approach angle. That type of stuff is cool, but there's certain things that are objective that are being overvalued right now that the machines are tracking, and the subjective things are being wildly undervalued. And that's, to me, the biggest gaps. If you're not, like Chris said, if you're not asking the player, we have a story from a minor league player got deducted points on their swing decision score because he had an opposite field homer on an edge fastball, even though the umpire was calling pitches off the plate, and he moved up on the plate, and the system didn't ask, did you move up on the plate? Were you looking away? One of the teams at ABCA was there. They were saying they use contact point for timing. And it's like, well, what if they're trying to hit the ball the opposite field? What if they have a shift on and they're intentionally doing it? There's no accounting for intent or approach in the metrics. And then also, if you use contact point for for timing, not every player stands in the same spot. So if they move up in the box for a reason, then you're like, what? There's no adjustability at all. So we're missing half the swings. That's a big deal. Nobody's tracking timing in a meaningful way. I tweeted a couple of times. I've been tweeting out like subtle things here and there for the last year. The barrel timing one is interesting, barrel versus body timing, because when you compare those two numbers, you're literally defining the adjustability of a player. Somebody's chatting. But yeah, I mean, we're not looking at accuracy. We're not looking at time.
This is Bobby Tewksbury. You mustn't look at Will's podcast.
Who's talking? You're talking about me. That's good.
Yeah.
Don't talk trash about me while you're not on mute.
I have another good one that really drives me crazy. Just came up in the conversation I was just having. Again, this like the overvaluing of exit velocity data, right? So anybody that's played the game for the last 150 years will tell you that hitting the ball hard is a good thing, right? Apparently 10 years ago that got discovered in the world of baseball or analytics or whatever it is, but guys knew that 150 years ago. So now we put a number on that, right? And then guys that have average exit velocities that are really high that hit for a low average in any given year are considered to be unlucky. And I remember, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, Ryan Zimmerman was considered the unluckiest player in baseball based on his average exit velocity readings. Anybody that's on this call probably knows that get the barrel out front, little sinker baller down and in, guess what you're going to do? You're going to hit that ball hard straight into the ground. And if you hit it to shortstop, especially in the big leagues or at high level college baseball, you're out. It doesn't matter how hard you hit it. So making the argument that somebody's hitting the ball really hard on the ground to the pull side is getting unlucky is, to me, just absolutely obnoxious and ridiculous. And players are literally being evaluated like by stuff like this at different levels. Just because you have the ability to hit the ball hard, the understanding of where you hit the ball and how you hit it there has to matter when we're creating a metric to value hitters.
I want to add on that as well. The overvaluation of exit velocity is leading to, we're not asking the right question about how exit velocity is created. So being on time, taking a good swing, and also being accurate is going to lead to exit velocity versus what's happening right now is everybody's chasing bat speed and they're chasing hard, effortful swings that aren't going to play in games. Your exit velo number is going to go up, but good luck hitting in games when it matters. So the data is leading people down the wrong paths right now, and we need to change the discussion. We need to shift it. And one thing I want to point out too is like now this information's out. It's a little scary when you put new stuff out. You're telling the world about it, but we literally want this stuff to be mainstream. I cannot wait till Major League Baseball starts doing this and acting like they invented it, because 10 years ago, exit velo became the rage and hit tracks came out, and now every kid in the world knows what their exit velo is. Nobody knows what their timing percentage is. It's just not a thing. Nobody knows what their timing percentage is. Nobody knows what their accuracy value for a curveball is. Like, these are things that matter. And like when you ask about gaps in the data, Alec, I'm passionate about this stuff. This is the stuff that matters. And there's no standard right now for what is good and what's bad for these types of things. That being said, we tracked like 60 games this summer. So we have a lot of major league data and we're creating those baselines. But the more people that use this, the stronger that data set gets, the more we're going to learn and know what matters. And there's going to be guys that, like Juan Soto's got one of the lowest swing rates in the league because he's incredibly disciplined about what he's doing. Some players need to be more aggressive, so that's okay. Some guys need to swing more, like Vlad Jr. or Bo Bichette. Chris had a conversation with Bo Bichette this summer, and they're asking him to take more pitches, and he's like, dude, I feel terrible. He's like not getting into counts. His mindset changed. So this is as much about understanding what works for the player, not creating this universal system that says your swing rate should be blah, blah, blah. Your exit velocity should be this. I don't care what works for the individual player. We don't get to choose. That's my biggest thing with mechanics right now. I don't get to choose what works for a player. I don't. It's not my choice. we have to have every tool available to us to help that player reach their potential. And
Bobby,
ultimately,
I'll
player development leads to winning games.
the one thing you just brought up there, take it back to the college level, is we were able to prove to a kid that you should have less fear with 2 strikes just by showing how good his contact rate was and that he was able to cover the plate. And because of that, he took more pitches, he got more pitches to hit, and he ended up driving more balls. Talk about exit velocity, I could care less, but he hit more balls hard, he did more damage, and it was only because he believed that he could hit with 2 strikes, because he proved it to himself by making more contact on edge pitches. So if you can swing at edge pitches early and put them in play weak, why don't you just take them and do that with 2 strikes and put it in play where you can take, and get better pitches to hit early in the count. So it's just, again, take away the doubt by providing the meaningful data. And the gap for us at Division II was game data. It was all of it. Every bit of the game data that we actually needed. I mean, there's a huge gap at the lower levels. Everybody's got a Rapsodo for, right now, but nobody can tell you, what they actually chase in game. And I think that's really from major Division I softball to mid-major baseball and down from there. We are missing game data. That's the gap. So,
yeah. And it mechanics matter. Your swing data, like bat speed, does matter. If you're swinging 63 and you're trying to play in college, it's not going to work. It's just these things do matter, but it's all about, the more data that we have on a player, the more custom our programs can become, and the quicker we can establish your priorities. I didn't talk about it earlier, but we have a whole system that sets your priorities automatically. And that can be based off your criteria. It doesn't have to be off our criteria. You can say, this is what I think matters most, and then we'll build all your priorities for our players based off what you care about. We're not trying to be right. We built a platform that anybody can use. So if maybe you're swinging at good pitches, you're swinging at the right amount of pitches, you're squaring balls up, and you just can't hit the ball over the fence, you gotta get in the weight room. You can't fake that. Like there's thresholds as you go up in the game. Like your strength matters, your speed matters. There's prerequisites to be able to play the game as it gets faster and faster, the higher you go up. I just think the better game data we have, the better information we can actually give to the players, the better chance that they have to make improvements and make adjustments. And it's got to be quick. That's another thing we didn't talk about. Off-season cycle, that loop, the feedback loop, every 4 weeks. We're doing a test, retest every 4 weeks. We can't wait a week in season. We need data immediately. We, track the game, give it to the players. Track the game, give it to the players. The loop has to be as tight as possible, because they need to get to the point where they're making adjustments pitch by pitch, not game by game, not week by week. It's every pitch they need to be there. Now, John, I would love to hear stories about, I know there's rules about tech in the dugout. So we made that little pay attention chart last year that just track misses under and then timing. What's the conversation in the dugout like moving to tracking data like this?
If you pulled video of our hitters and you didn't watch at bats, but you just watched the conversations that were going on we met this week a couple times on approach, and one of the things that impressed our younger guys the most was the conversation that our leadoff hitter has with our 2-hole hitter, or our 2-hole hitter with their 3-hole hitter immediately after at bats. And what I noticed was, instead of hitters making adjustments, the second time through the lineup, they go to the pay attention chart, look at, we're missing under, are we missing over, are we late, are we early, and make adjustments within 2 to 3 hitters. You could literally see, and this is at the major league level too. Bobby could predict at the major league level when a pitcher was going to get shelled based on the fact that you'd see miss under, miss under, miss under, miss under. Wait a minute. Somebody squared one up, or somebody missed over that same pitch, and then you could see the lineup adjust. Pretty wild. Or you'd see guys swing over a breaking ball, over a breaking ball, over a breaking ball. All of a sudden they foul tip under a breaking ball, and it was like, what just happened there? And then within 3 hitters, that guy's getting taken out of the game. So it's pretty wild. It's just a whole different way of watching a ball game, and it's kind of getting inside of the mind of the hitter, adjusting from pitch to pitch.
So many people say that
yeah.
they're scared to give young people too much information. And I, for lack of a better word, call bullshit on that. Cause like, I wish I had been exposed to stuff like this when I was young, and it would have made I would have had so much more clarity as a young player. We have to give our young players an opportunity to learn this stuff. And like, I think a lot of times we get scared as older people, coaches, whatever. I call myself a consigliere, to give them too much information. And certainly there are times when, you know, I understand that, right? Like, we don't want to put 7 charts in front of them when one will do, or a conversation about the information will do. But we have to give our players a chance to have the best information possible and have it make an impact on their careers first and foremost, and then on the team, you know, on the team having the ability to win more games. That's what it comes down to. Like we said, we can't guarantee that anybody's going to win more games. I wish I could, but I could certainly try to give them information that matters to me. Right. You know, this is all stuff that as I get older, I think I took for granted. Like, it was stuff I was paying attention to without really realizing the rest of the world wasn't caught up yet.
Really good stuff. So we're over an hour in. I want to open it up to questions. Just in terms of sign up, we're going to send links out so you have access to everything you need to get started. Hitting Approach is a 2-week trial. We'll get you access to that. With Pelotero, you can get on, create an account, and you get 5 video breakdowns, video hit AIs, so you can test it out. We're very close to switching over our payment system. We made things a lot easier, so we're very close on that. If anybody has any questions, be more than happy to stay on. One of the things I'm most excited about with all this is just shifting the conversation. I can't wait to get on Twitter and we're gonna have like our own little community on there of people that are talking about stuff that matters.
Community. Forget Twitter. Community.
Or you can come. We do have our own community app as well, but we'll send links to that. But it's just changing the conversation. It's changing the focus to things that matter. And watching games this summer completely transformed the way I watch baseball. And I've watched a lot of baseball.
I had players doing it, and it was changing the way they were looking at it. I had one of my Division I guys, Power 5 guy. He was tracking his school's games this fall, and he texted me, no offense to any pitching guys on here, goes, man, pitchers really suck. I said, yeah, you're just noticing that now? And I said, you know, that was a conversation Donaldson and I had way back when, where he would say to me, there's like 10 guys on the planet that should make you feel uncomfortable, and everybody else is the same. And once you start learning what makes them the same and how you can bucket certain types of guys, it's when you change the shape of your swing. And one of the terms we just used was the ability to manipulate your barrel. And people are like, oh, that's a bad thing. I'm like, again, with the right context, it's a great thing. You know, that's hitting.
That's hitting. Crazy. So any other questions? We'll leave it open for questions right now. John, did you have anything else you wanted to add? We will share this, the video. We'll get this up on YouTube as soon as it's processed. Just excited. We're just really excited. I know we have down in Texas, so the high school season starts in about a month. Scrimmages are starting beginning of February. College season is starting up, so we know we have a window of time here to get people signed up. So we're very anxious to do that and get everybody started.
And hey, don't be afraid to tell people it will help them make money too.
Yep. So part of the offer that we have is we have an event module. It's almost done. I demoed it if it was done, but we're going to give you you get access to the full platform that we have. So with that event module, if budget is a concern, you can use that event module to run camps. You can have your high school kids promote stuff on Facebook, do a spring break camp, get 25 kids to pay $100. You get the whole thing paid for. So there's opportunities,
build programs in the future for all those players and sell them their custom training plans.
Yeah. So we have a price, we have cost of offering a service. So we're charging what we think is a very fair price, but we also have ways to help you guys offset that or even cover it and potentially even make more and add to your budget with those tools. So yeah, any questions? We'll open it up. I see some people dropping off as we're wrapping up here, but Really excited to get going. Michael, you got anything to add? I'm going to pin you here. Michael is newest. Whoops. What did I do? Tried to add a pin, but I think I turned your video off.
You just turned my video off. No, you guys did great. I love everything.
Mike's newest member to Pelotero, Michael, also big league time. You can turn your video back on. We got to see those glasses.
I can't.
You can't turn your video back on?
No, that's all right. Hold on.
I don't know what I did.
I'm a tech
I was
guy. I
just-
could probably get
I
this.
was just asked to start video. I was just trying to invite you and pin you.
There
And
we go.
I turned you off there. I just turned off your thing.
No.
So Mike's new to the Pelotero, so he's been getting accustomed to what we offer and how we do things. And what are your biggest takeaways with the hitting approach stuff?
I think
'Cause your
the hit-
history, your career got derailed by concussion stuff.
Yeah.
We're gonna go back and check your pre-concussion and post-concussion data to see what happened.
yeah, I was sexy before the concussion, but I'm
Sexy
excited.
still sexy.
Yeah, I'm on a diet. No, I think for a hitter to lose that doubt going into the box is probably the biggest. I think as a hitter, that's the most important thing. So if we have a chance to help promote hitters and kind of understand their swing a little bit better, I think it's amazing. And hitting approach and Pelotero together, I think we can change the industry in that regard. So I'm pumped up to be here.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, last call on questions. And we're just, I don't know if we can say it enough, but we're excited about what we're offering and making available to people, and just looking forward to getting people having better focus and making adjustments faster and competing. I can't wait till we start getting emails saying, hey man, we had this hitter, made an adjustment that did this thing and turned the season around, or just there's going to be really cool moments that happen because of this. I can't wait to get those stories. Last call on questions. We got the chat open. If you want to unmute yourself, you can.
I was about to drop a on that note.
On that note, what are we doing?
That's how I close our podcast if anybody's paying attention. On that note, pickle out.
All right.
I'm actually out.
Yep. We're going to wrap this up. Everybody, thanks for
Bye,
joining.
everybody.
Appreciate your time. John, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Chris.
Thanks, everyone.
I think
Thanks,
Josh
guys.
dropped off.
See ya.
JDS. I don't know what JDS is, but you're welcome. And look for an email coming from us soon. Everybody dropping off. John, talk to you soon. See you guys.
Thanks, Bobby. See you.